Now we will study the important relation between the torque and angular momentum for the case of a single particle. Now consider a single particle of mass m moving with a velocity v. Then what is the linear momentum of this particle is given by, it is the product of mass and velocity. If it starts rotating, then the angular momentum of the particle is given by r cross p. L is equal to r cross p is the angular momentum of that particle. It is going to rotate about a fixed axis. Now we are going to obtain the relation between the angular momentum and the torque. Now look here. In order to obtain the relation, we take the derivative on both sides. Taking derivative with respect to time, that is t, on both sides, what we are going to get. So it is a simple mathematical steps. dl by dt, and left hand side, now right hand side, it is d by dt of cross product of r cross p. Now in the right hand side, since it is the cross product of two quantities, we have to make use of product rule of derivative. That is, first take the derivative of the first term, that is dr by dt, cross product of the second term p, plus, it is the product rule. Now keep the first term as it is and take the derivative of the second term. So that is the product rule. So in the product rule, take the derivative of the first term and keep the second term as it is, plus keep the first term as it is and take the derivative of the second term. That is the product rule of derivative. Okay. Now look here. dr by dt, rate of change of displacement, it is nothing but a vector quantity, that is velocity that we have studied. And p is a momentum vector, it is m into v, plus, now keep the second term as it is. Now look here, since m is mass, it is a constant, v cross v, it is a cross product of two parallel vectors. Since v is one vector and v it is another same vector, similar parallel vectors, the angle between them theta is 0, sin theta is 0, therefore this term becomes 0 because the cross product of velocity vector and velocity vector is 0, v cross v, I cross I 0, j cross j 0, k cross k 0. Similarly, v cross v is 0 because the angle between them is 0, sin 0 is 0. This term vanishes. Now left with this term cross. Now look at this function dp by dt. What is this one? The rate of change of momentum. According to Newton's second law, the rate of change of momentum is nothing but the force applied. Now here we have used from Newton's second law, the force is equal to dp by dt. This thing we have applied, and also what is v cross v? Here We have chosen these two quantities. You remember that one. Okay. Therefore, we left with dl by dt is equal to r cross f. Now, what is r cross f? Just we have defined earlier. It is the torque, where tau is given by r cross f. It is the moment of force or the torque. So we have got very important relation here. The rate of change of angular momentum acting on a particle is equal to torque acting on it. The rate of change of angular momentum of a particle is equal to torque acting on that particle. Now this relation is similar to that of Newton's second law, that is the derivative of P with respect to T is equal to the force. This is what we have mentioned here. Now this is Newton's second law in linear motion. Therefore, Newton's second law in rotational motion we can consider like this. So therefore, the force in linear motion is analogous to torque in rotational motion. The linear momentum in linear motion is equal to angular momentum in rotational motion. Hence, the rate of change of angular momentum is equal to torque acting on the particle. Now we will study torque and angular momentum for a system of particles. So in the previous class we have studied torque and angular momentum for a single particle, and also we have obtained the relation between the torque and the angular momentum. What was that relation? The time rate of change of angular momentum of a particle is equal to torque acting on it, that we have derived. Now we will consider a system of n particles. Okay. Now each particle is having a mass m1 and is moving with the velocity v1. Then we have a linear momentum v1, and hence each particle is having an angular momentum L1, L2, L3, etc. Ln. Now this is the angular momentum of each particle. Now L1 is given by, it is R1 position vector of the first particle cross product of P1, the linear momentum of the first particle, that we know. We have a first particle which is having a position vector R1, it is moving with a velocity v1, then its momentum becomes, linear momentum becomes p1. Now if we take the cross product of r1 and p1, that gives the angular momentum of the first particle that we have studied. What is the direction? The direction of the angular momentum is always perpendicular to the plane containing r1 vector and the position vector. So similarly, L2 is R2 cross P2, L3 R3 cross P3, etc. etc. Ln, we can write Ln is equal to, it is Rn cross Pn. Now these are the angular momentum of all the particles. Now, what is the total angular momentum? Now small letter L corresponds to angular momentum of individual particles. Since we are considering a system of n particles, now we have to calculate what is the total angular momentum of that system of n particles. The total angular momentum is equal to, it is the vector sum of the angular momentum of individual particles up to Ln. It is a vector sum. Now it can also be written as, using the sigma notation, Li, where Li is the angular momentum of the ith particle, and I takes the values from 1 to n, that we have known. So this is the total angular momentum of system of n particles, that we call it as a rigid body. This is the total angular momentum. In the previous we have studied this total angular momentum is given by sigma L I takes the values from 1 to n. Li can be written as, just we have written, Ri cross product of Pi, that we have studied. Ri cross product of Pi. Now Ri cross product of Pi. Ri Pi, it is nothing but the angular momentum. If you take the time rate of change of total angular momentum of the system, we get, so d by dt of sigma I is equal to 1 to n Ri cross Pi, and we are already familiar with this one. This is nothing but it gives the torque acting, total torque acting on the system, Ti. We write this one. We are already familiar with the time rate of change of angular momentum is equal to torque acting on it. So here capital L is the total angular momentum of the rigid body, that is containing system of n particles. The time rate of change of total angular momentum system of particles is equal to sigma tau external, that is tau I. Now we are already familiar in the previous that this tau, similar to that of the force, it is external torque. Since the internal torques get cancelled out, only the external torque will be present. Therefore, the time rate of change of angular momentum of a system of particles is equal to external torque acting on that system, that is sigma Ti. Or simply we can write dl by dt is equal to tau external, the external torque acting on the system of that particles. Therefore, the time rate of change of total angular momentum of a system of particles taken at a point is equal to the total external torque acting on the system taken at the same point. Now, if the external torques were 0, what we will get? If all the vectoral torques which are acting on the system of particles is vector sum is 0, then we get, so dl by dt is equal to 0. In the previous we have studied derivative of a function, if it is 0, then that quantity becomes a constant. Therefore, L should be constant. It should be constant. That means the angular momentum of the rigid body is conserved. So L is conserved. The total angular momentum of rigid body or the system of particles is conserved only when the external torque acting on the system is 0. So that leads to conservation law for the case of rigid bodies. Now we will solve one problem. Find the torque of a force 7I plus 3J minus 5K about the origin. The force acts on a particle whose position vector is I cap minus j cap plus k cap. We have to find the cross product of the position vector and the force. Now solution. Now given. Now vector R, position vector. Now this is given, that is I cap minus j cap plus k cap. This is the position vector. And force is given, the vector force vector F is equal to 7I cap plus 3j cap minus 5 k cap. These two are given. Now what we are going to find? We have to find Now we will find the torque by using determinant method. Now how we are going to write the determinant method? So we have to write 3 rows and 3 columns. The first row contains all the unit vectors, that is vector I, vector j, vector k. And the second row contains the first vector in the cross product. Remember here, in the cross product R comes first, force comes next. But in the given data, force is first given and position vector is second given. So you may get confused. So you should be clear, R should be the first vector and F should be the second vector. Therefore, I have to take the coefficients of the vector R 1, -1 and 1. Similarly, we have to write the coefficients of force vector, that is 7 plus 3 and -5. Now this is the determinant method. Now we have to find R cross F. Therefore, R cross F or tau is equal to, now how we have worked out? Now we have to write the first component taking the I unit vector. In order to find the coefficients of that ith unit vector, we have to leave the first row and first column. Now we have to cross multiply the remaining terms. -1 into -5. Or if you know the formula, writing the formula, you can easily work it out. First from top left to the bottom right, that you remember, minus top right to the bottom left, 1 into 3. So that is the first term. Plus, what we have to write? The second term containing the unit vector j. Now leave the first row and second column. We left with 1, 1, 7, -5. Since we are calculating the second one, second should be in the opposite direction. While writing the first coefficient, we have taken first left top to the right bottom and then right top to the left bottom. So here we are working out the second term. We start with the right top to the left bottom, 1, 7. That is 1 into 7 minus left top, right bottom, 1 into -5. This is the second term. Okay. Plus, similarly write the third term, that is k cap. Now leave the first row and third column containing the unit vector k. Now we left with 1, -1, 7, 3. Since it is the third one, we have to start from left top to the right bottom, 1 into 3. So 1 into 3 minus -1 into 7. Now simplify, we will get the torque. Therefore, torque acting on this one is equal to 1 -1 into -5, it is 5. I will write one more term, one more step, minus 3 into I cap plus 7 ones are 7 minus into minus plus 5 j cap, 3 ones are 3. I will write here third term, 3 minus into minus plus 7 into k cap. Simplifying this one, I am going to get 5 minus 3, it is 2 I cap, 7 plus 5 plus 12 j cap, 3 plus 7, it is 10 k cap. Now this is the cross product of two given vectors, that is, one is the position vector, another is the force vector. Or if you know the formula, you can write that one also, that is tau is equal to, what is that formula? Ay bz minus az by I cap, first term, plus second term. Now az, we start with the z, Az bx minus ax bz into j cap, second term, and the third term is ax by minus ay bx into k cap. If you know this formula, so directly write the formula, and once again you are going to get the same, that is the result. What is the direction of the torque? Remember that one. The direction of the torque is always perpendicular to the plane containing the position vector and the force vector. Now we will study equilibrium of a rigid body. In the previous chapters, we have studied equilibrium of a particle. A particle is said to be in equilibrium if the total force acting on it becomes zero, that you have studied. If you consider the case of a two force, if one force F1 is acting along this direction and F2 force is acting along this direction, if their vector sum becomes zero, that is vector F1 plus F2, if it becomes zero, then this point object is in equilibrium. Similarly, if there are more than two forces are acting at a point, if their vector sum is zero, then that a single particle is said to be in mechanical, is said to be in translational equilibrium, or it is in equilibrium. Now here we are going to study equilibrium of a rigid body. Since we are already familiar with, in the case of a rigid body, the motion of a rigid body involves either pure rotatory motion, or it is the combination of translational as well as rotatory motion. If the body is fixed along a particular axis and if the force is applied, it is going to cause the rotational motion. If the body is not at all fixed, then that rigid body, it is having a combination of both translatory as well as rotatory motion. Now, a rigid body is said to be in translational equilibrium. First, translational equilibrium. A rigid body is said to be in translational equilibrium if the total force, that is sigma f, total force, if I represent it as sigma f, acting on that rigid body is equal to 0. If the total force, that is external, it should be external force, okay? If the total force acting on the rigid body is 0, then that rigid body is said to be in translational equilibrium. It will not no longer move along a straight line. It remains at rest. That is the meaning. Now, vector sum means it is sum of all the forces. That is sum of all forces. It is a vector sum. Specifically, it is the vector sum of all the forces acting on a rigid body is 0, then that rigid body is said to be in translational equilibrium. It is one type. Now we have the second type, that is rotational equilibrium. Rotational equilibrium. A rigid body is said to be in rotational equilibrium if and only if the total torque, that is sigma 2, is equal to 0. That means vector sum of all the torques acting on the rigid body. The torque is also an external torque, remember. Vector sum of all torque is equal to 0, then that object or that rigid body is said to be in rotational equilibrium. So therefore, if a rigid body is in both translational equilibrium as well as rotational equilibrium, then that rigid body is said to be in mechanical equilibrium. If the total force acting on a rigid body is zero, then that rigid body is in translational equilibrium. If the total torque acting on the rigid body is zero, then that rigid body is said to be in rotational equilibrium. If on a rigid body, the total force is zero and as well as total torque is also zero, that means if a rigid body is in translational equilibrium as well as rotational equilibrium, then that rigid body is said to be in mechanical equilibrium. Now here in these two expressions, now it is the total force acting, either it will be x component, y component as well as z component. So therefore we are having three equations for this one. That is, for the x component, it is Fix, sigma Fix should be 0. For the y component, sigma Fi y is equal to 0. For the z component, sigma Fi z is equal to 0. What is that meaning? The component of force acting along the x-axis, sum of all the forces acting along the x-axis should be 0. Sum of all the forces acting along the y-axis on the rigid body is equal to 0. Sum of all the forces acting along the z-axis on a rigid body should be equal to 0. So therefore, for the force we are having three conditions. Sum of forces along the x should be 0. Sum of the forces along the y-axis should be 0. Sum of the forces along the z-axis is also 0. Therefore, we are getting three conditions for translational equilibrium. Similarly, for the rotational equilibrium, sum of the torques along the x-axis should be 0. Sum of the torques along the y-axis should be 0. Sum of the torques along the z-axis should be 0. The torque along the x-axis should be 0. Torque along the y-axis on the rigid body should be 0. Torque along the z-axis should be 0. So in total, for the mechanical equilibrium of a rigid body, we require 6 conditions. If 6 conditions are required for the equilibrium of a rigid body. But we know that all forces in nature, they are coplanar, acting in a plane. So therefore, for the force, we require, instead of 3 conditions, if it satisfies any 2 conditions, that means the forces are coplanar if we take the forces along 2 perpendicular axes in a plane. If I choose a plane here, look here in this diagram, I am choosing a plane here. Okay. Now assume that this is the x-axis, along this one is x-axis, and this along y, this one is, if I choose as y-axis. Now the force along the x-axis, that is Fx, should be 0. Force along the y-axis, Fy should be equal to 0. And one more thing, these two should be perpendicular to each other. That is the condition. If the forces which are acting on a rigid body, if they are taken mutually perpendicular to each other, they are taken along 2 perpendicular axes, if their vector sum is 0, those are the 2 conditions. And third condition, it should be one rotational condition. So 2 translational conditions are satisfied. If one rotational condition is also satisfied, then that rigid body is said to be in mechanical equilibrium. One rotational means if I take another axis here, which is z-axis perpendicular to both the x-axis and y-axis, along this axis if the torque is 0, torque, that is tau z, torque, algebraic sum of the torques on that rigid body is 0, then that rigid body is said to be in mechanical equilibrium. In general, we require 6 conditions. Among them, if 2 translational and 1 rotational, that rotational should be perpendicular to the 2 translational axes. That is the condition. If these 3 conditions holds good, are satisfied, then that rigid body is said to be in mechanical equilibrium. Sometimes a rigid body is said to be in partial equilibrium. What is the meaning of partial? If it is in translational equilibrium but not in rotational equilibrium, or if it is in rotational equilibrium but not in translational equilibrium. So ಎರಡು equilibrium ಉಂಟು, ಒಂದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನಲ್ ಒಂದು ರೋಟೇಷನಲ್. ಎರಡೂ ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈ ಆದ್ರೆ ಮೆಕ್ಯಾನಿಕಲ್ ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ. ಯಾವ್ದಾದ್ರು ಒಂದು ಸ್ಯಾಟಿಸ್ಫೈ ಆದ್ರೆ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನಲ್ ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ರೋಟೇಷನಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ ಆದ್ರೆ, ಅಥವಾ ರೋಟೇಷನಲ್ ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದ್ದು ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನಲ್ ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ ಆದ್ರೆ, then the rigid body is said to be in partial equilibrium. Now we will study with an example the partial equilibrium of a rigid body. What is partial equilibrium means? A rigid body is in translational equilibrium but not in rotational equilibrium, or it is in rotational equilibrium but not in translational equilibrium. That is the case. Now for that one, consider a light rod. Light rod means it is having a negligible amount of mass. Now AB is a light rod having a negligible mass. At the end AB, 2 equal forces are acting as shown here. Now one force is acting at A perpendicular to the point A, and another force is also acting at the point B, which is also equal but acting in the same direction. Both the 2 forces are acting in the same direction. Now consider some midpoint here, C. Now look at this point. Now if I calculate at the point C, what is the moment of force for the force at the point A? How we are going to calculate the moment of force? Moment of force, or we call it as torque. Okay, we will work out the torque. What is it? If I take the distance from A to C as a small letter A, and similarly from B to C as a small letter A, then torque at C due to the force at A is just R cross F. Its magnitude is RF sin theta. Since here the angle is 90 degree, sin 90 is 1. Therefore R means here the distance A, and magnitude of the force is F. Now A into F is the torque acting on this rod due to the force at the point A. That means it is going to produce a rotational effect. If the rod is left to rotate, assuming that there is no second force, now rod starts rotating in the anti-clockwise direction. So therefore, this force produces the anti-clockwise rotation. Therefore, if that is the case, then that moment of force is taken as positive. A force which produces anti-clockwise rotation in a rigid body, then that torque or the moment of force is taken as positive. Now consider on the other side. Now assume that there is no force here, only force is acting at the point B. Now this force is going to rotate the rod in the clockwise direction, is going to produce the moment of torque or moment of force or the torque in the clockwise direction. Therefore, moment of force due to this force is taken as minus because since it is rotating in the clockwise direction, the clockwise direction of rotation or the clockwise direction of moment of force is taken as negative. We are choosing the sign convention. So anti-clockwise is taken as positive and the clockwise is taken as negative. Therefore, these two are the moment of force acting at the point C due to the two forces. Then what is the net moment of force or net torque? Sum of these two is 0. That means this rod is in rotational equilibrium. It is in rotational equilibrium. Why? Now here this force tends to rotate the rod in the anti-clockwise direction. Now this force tends to rotate the torque in the clockwise direction. And since these two forces are equal, they get cancelled. There is no rotation effect on this rigid rod. Therefore, the rod is in rotational equilibrium. It is not at all rotating. But since these two forces are acting in the downward direction, what these two forces are going to make? They are going to move the rod in the downward direction. There is a net force. What is the net force here? It is F plus F. It is equal to 2F. And these two forces are acting in the same direction. Therefore, these two forces on this rod moves the rod downwards. That means rod is having a translational motion. Because of the two forces, rod is going to execute a translational motion and hence that rod is not in translational equilibrium. ಈ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಎರಡು ಫೋರ್ಸು ಎ ಮತ್ತು ಬಿ ಪಾಯಿಂಟ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಉಂಟು. ಎರಡೂ ಫೋರ್ಸು ಈಕ್ವಲ್ ಮತ್ತೆ ಸೇಮ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ. ಆ ಎರಡೂ ಫೋರ್ಸು ಒಂದೇ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಆಕ್ಟ್ ಆಗ್ತಾ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ಆ ರಾಡ್ ಮೇಲೆ ಯಾವುದೇ ರೀತಿ ರೊಟೇಷನ್ ಎಫೆಕ್ಟ್ ಅನ್ನ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ. ದೇರ್ಫೋರ್ ದಟ್ ರಾಡ್ ರೊಟೇಷನಲ್ ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ಇದೆ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ಆದ್ರೆ ಎರಡೂ ಫೋರ್ಸು ಸೇಮ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಇರೋದ್ರಿಂದ ರಾಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಒಂದ್ ಕಡೆಗೆ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ, ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನಲ್ ಲೀನಿಯರ್ ಮೋಷನ್ ಅನ್ನ ಉಂಟು ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ದೇರ್ಫೋರ್ ದಟ್ ರಾಡ್ ಈಸ್ ನಾಟ್ ಇನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನಲ್ ಇಕ್ವಿಲಿಬ್ರಿಯಂ ಅಂತ ಹೇಳ್ತೀವಿ. ದೇರ್ಫೋರ್ ದಟ್ ರಾಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಪಾರ್ಷಿಯಲ್ equilibrium. Now consider the same example. Take the same rod AB having the same two forces, but now one force is acting downwards and the another force is acting upwards. Point C. Now this is A distance and this distance is taken as A. Okay. We have the same example, but the thing is, here the two forces are acting along the same direction, but the two forces are acting in opposite direction. Now what will happen here? Look here. Now if you find or if you calculate the moment of force or torque at due to the force at A, now assume that there is no force at B. Now we are calculating the moment of force with respect to the point C. That means it is not fixed. Assuming that we are calculating the moment of force with respect to point C. Therefore, this force is going to rotate the rod in the anti-clockwise direction. Therefore, that moment of force is positive and is given by the distance A and the force F. That's clear. Similarly, work out the moment of force due to the second force. Assume that there is no first force and only the second force is present. Then also this second force is going to rotate the rod in the same direction, that is anti-clockwise direction. Therefore, the moment of force is, so therefore total moment of force is equal to 2 times A into F we are getting. That means the total moment of force is not zero, and hence this rod in this case is not in rotational equilibrium. It is not in rotational equilibrium. ಅದು ತಿರುಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಗ್ತದೆ because two forces are acting in different direction and rotating the rod in the same direction. So ಅದು ತಿರುಗ್ಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಶುರು ಆಯ್ತು, ಹಾಗಾಗಿ ಅದಕ್ಕೆ rotational equilibrium ಇಲ್ಲ ಹೇಳಿ. But if you calculate what is the total force acting, now one force is downwards and one force is upwards, they are equal and opposite, therefore the total net force, factor F minus F, so that is equal to 0. Net force is 0. Since the net force is 0, according to the definition, the rod is in translational equilibrium. That means ಈ ಎರಡೂ ಫೋರ್ಸು ರಾಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಲೀನಿಯರ್ ಆಗಿ ಮೂವ್ಮೆಂಟ್ ಮಾಡಲ್ಲ, ಬಿಕಾಸ್ ಟೂ ಫೋರ್ಸಸ್ ಆರ್ ಇನ್ ಅಪೋಸಿಟ್ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್. ಆದ್ರೆ ಇದೆರಡು ಫೋರ್ಸು ರಾಡ್ ಅನ್ನ ಒಂದೇ ಡೈರೆಕ್ಷನ್ ಅಲ್ಲಿ ರೊಟೇಟ್ ಮಾಡಲಿಕ್ಕೆ ಪ್ರಾರಂಭ ಮಾಡ್ತದೆ. ಹೆನ್ಸ್ ಇನ್ ದಿಸ್ ಎಕ್ಸಾಂಪಲ್ ದಟ್ ರಾಡ್ ಈಸ್ ಇನ್ ಟ್ರಾನ್ಸ್ಲೇಷನಲ್ equilibrium but not in rotational equilibrium. Now here, look here, we are having two forces, a pair of equal and opposite forces. Okay, pair of equal and opposite forces acting at a different line of action, acting at different point of action, and those pair of equal and opposite forces acting at a different point of actions are called couple. So couple, it is a special case of torque. If you have a single force, if that single force is going to rotate the rigid body, then it is called as torque or moment of force. But if you are having a pair of equal forces but acting at two different points in opposite direction, it is also going to rotate the rigid body. It also causes the rotational effect, but we are having a pair of equal and opposite forces, and that constitutes couple. Now the best example for couple is, we are having a box. In order to open its lid, or in the case of a water bottle, in order to open the lid, we are going to apply equal and opposite forces. Now here, look here in this example, I am moving the thumb in this direction and moving the forefinger in the opposite direction. If I do equal and opposite forces, then only that box is opened up. While closing the lid also, I have to apply. The thumb is moving in this direction and the forefinger is moving in the opposite direction. So this pair of equal and opposite forces acting at different points. One force is acting on this point and another force is acting at the other point. So that constitutes a couple. In the case of opening and closing of any bottle, water bottle, oil bottle, or anything, we are using this concept of couple. And also in opening and closing of a tap, water tap, in the case of opening and closing of a water tap, we are going to make use of this couple concept. If it is when it is freely suspended, it always comes in north-south direction. Now disturb the needle. If I change the direction of the needle, then obviously that needle experiences a couple because of Earth's magnetic field. The Earth's magnetic field is going to, if I displace along this direction, if I displace the needle, then Earth's magnetic field is going to apply equal and opposite forces as shown in the diagram. The Earth magnetic field tends to bring back the needle along the north-south direction. So then this needle is going to experience a couple.